everyone. We are going to be going over our reading lesson now. So let's first go over our learning objectives. So our first learning objective says the students will be able to use a graphic organizer. So this is the graphic organizer we will be using today. And they will use their graphic organizer to compare two different texts. So we're going to be comparing our read aloud stories, Who Would Win, with our other read aloud story, If Sharks Disappeared. Students will also be able to identify key concepts such as characters, settings, and plots. Let's now briefly go over our vocabulary terms that we might be hearing throughout our lesson. Alright, our first vocabulary word is a character. A character can be either an animal or a person, and there can be more than one character in our story. A setting is where the story takes place. So a couple of examples of settings we've seen in our read-alouds are parks, homes, schools. They can be in nature as well. So our next vocabulary word is events. So an important events that make the story unique. So there's certain events that might happen in a story where you will know immediately, oh, that's this story because of how the story played out and certain events that happened. Our last vocabulary word is a fantasy. Fantasy is a type of story that is made up. It's not real. It has fictional characters. It's a made-up plot. Sometimes it will say like once upon a time. These are events that would not happen in real life. Okay, now that we have gone over our vocabulary words, let's briefly go over our read-alouds. The first read-aloud we're going to go over is If Sharks Disappeared. So this way that we can remember and refresh our memory of events, settings, characters that we might have seen in both of our read-aloud stories to help us with our graphic organizer. So, If Sharks Disappeared. This is a healthy ocean. It is a balanced environment where there are many different animals and plants thrive. The ocean is home to a lot of creatures, big, small, slimy, cute, and scary. Sharks have helped our oceans keep balance for over 450 million years, so that's a really long time. Over that time, they have grown and changed into more than 400 different types of sharks that exist today. Sharks are a type of apex predator, which means they're at the top of their food chain in their ecosystem, the ocean. Losing an apex predator can cause devastating effects on the environment. So that means if we lose the shark, all of the animals, even all the way to the smallest animal in our ocean, will be affected. Today, roughly between 1/4 and 1/3 of shark species, so different types of sharks, are vulnerable to extinction because of overfishing. Extinction means that they will slowly die off and they will no longer exist. And that is due to overfishing. What could happen if this continues and sharks disappear altogether? If sharks disappeared, the ocean would no longer be balanced. Although different types of animals have different diets, most sharks typically eat sick, slow, or weak animals, leaving the healthy animals to reproduce, which means have babies. If sharks disappeared, the populations of seals, sea lions, and other pinnipeds would potentially explode. So that means there would be a lot more now. At higher populations, so more of the animal, they would eat more and more fish. And eventually, once there weren't any fish left, they'd starve and die out as well. If fish and pinnipeds disappeared, plankton, which is what many fish that are lower on the food chain eat, could quickly grow out of control. That could make the ocean a thick sludge, so it would make it really gross. Nothing could survive in the water. If the ocean became unlivable, many species of land animals that rely on the ocean for food, such as seabirds, polar bears, and others, could starve and die out. The loss of these animals could cause more species, so more animals that are on land, to die as well. The pattern of cause and effect could spread like a wave across countries and continents, until animals around the world were affected, from bees to birds to bears, and eventually to us. So if we lost sharks, that would really affect all of the animals and us. All species depend on one another to survive by keeping our planet's ecosystem in balance. And luckily today, sharks still exist. Sharks inhabit the ocean, all the oceans on Earth. So that means they live in all of the oceans. If we remember that we are all connected, and if we work together, sharks and our whole planet as we know it will thrive. And maybe we can see that what once seemed so scary isn't so scary after all. Okay, now that we've just finished our read aloud, If Sharks Disappeared, we are going to do our other read aloud to refresh our memory on our story, Who Would Win? Whale versus Giant Squid. So let's go on and read it. What would happen if a whale swam near a giant squid? They are both carnivores. That means that they're meat eaters. What if they had a fight? Who do you think would win? Meet a sperm whale. This whale looks like a big head with a tail. Its scientific name means blower with a big head. It is the largest of all toothed whales. The sperm whale has the largest head of any animal that has ever lived on Earth. Meet the giant squid. The giant squid has fins for steering. It propels itself by sucking water into its head and squeezing the water out. The squid works the same way as a jet engine. So it sucks the water in and it moves its body throughout the ocean. Whales are mammals. The people reading this book are mammals. Here are some other mammals, such as a dolphin, a monkey, or a kangaroo. Mollusks. Squids are mollusks. Here are examples of other mollusks. A mussel, an octopus, and a clam. The eye of a sperm whale is only about 2 inches wide, so it's not too big. Here is a human eyeball. Here is a giant squid eyeball in comparison. The giant squid eyeball is the largest eyeball in the world. It is about the size of a basketball. Teeth. The sperm whale has long teeth. The teeth are shaped like sidewalk chalk. Notice that it has no teeth on the top of its mouth. The sperm whale closes its mouth. Its bottom teeth are used as indentations in its upper jaw. Beak. Between its 8 legs and its 2 feet or arms is the squid's mouth. It does not have teeth. Squids have a beak. It looks like a parrot's. Tails. The tail of a sperm whale is about 16 feet across, so it's really long. Fins. The body of a giant squid is called a mantle or a torso. At one end are fins. The giant squid can use its fins to steer, so it can move around in the ocean. Dinner. Sperm whales eat giant squid, stingrays, octopuses, and fish. Supper. Giant squid eat fish, shrimp, and other squid. They grab food with their long feeder arms. The feeder arms have sharp spines on the ends. They pull the food into their beaks. Speed. A sperm whale can swim 25 miles per hour. A giant squid can swim 20 miles per hour. So that's pretty fast. Okay, now let's see what our answer is. Who would win? The whale dives. It's looking for food. It sends out sound waves, hoping to find a tasty treat. It senses a few small fish. The whale is hungry. It is looking for a nice giant calamari dinner. Sometimes squids are called calamari. A giant squid is in the deep water and out of range. The giant squid decides to move to shallower water, so it's not as deep. Shallow means it's surface level, it's not as deep. An easier place to find food. Most fish and squid live in less than 200 feet deep of water, so not too deep in the ocean. The whale senses the giant squid a quarter of a mile deep. It dives deeper. The giant squid doesn't notice the whale right away. The whale clicks a few sounds, locating the giant squid, then attacks with its open mouth. The whale grabs a small piece of one of the squid's arms. The giant squid blows ink in the whale's face, then darts away. The whale swims after the giant squid. The squid sees the whale and decides to attack first. The squid realizes it's in for a fight. It puts all of its legs and feeder arms around the whale. Suction cups and hooks scrape the whale's skin. The squid tries to hold the whale down until the whale runs out of air. Its plan does not work. The whale maneuvers and bites a chunk of the squid and a few of the squid's arms. A few more bites and the giant squid is in deep trouble. The whale thinks the giant squid is delicious. The whale wins but has a sucker and a scratch mark all over its head. That bite hurt. Okay, now that we're done comparing our two read-alouds, I'm going to have you get out your graphic organizer. Okay? Yours looks just like mine. I've made a bigger version of your graphic organizer. Okay, I'm going to have you have this in front of you, and you're going to help me come up with answers for our graphic organizer, and I'm going to fill it in, and then you're going to copy down on your worksheet what we have come up together. Okay? Alright, so let's look at our first question. It says, characters. You should see that on your graphic organizer as well. You see how it says characters right here? Okay, so let's think about characters and let's think about differences, okay, for our story, who will win. So can you tell me some differences about our story, who would win? Good job. You said that there are squids and whales in our story. Good job. Now, can you think of some differences for characters in If Sharks Disappear? Good job. There are sharks in this story. And what else did you say? Oh, you said that there are humans. Good job. Can you think of characters that both of the stories had? Good job. There's some ocean animals, right, in both stories. And you also are telling me that there are fish in both stories as well, right? So those are also called ocean animals. All right, now that we have those answers, I want us to start thinking about the setting. Okay, can you tell me what's the difference? So in the story, who will win? What is the setting that is different than in the story of Sharks Disappear? So I know that both of them are in the ocean, so that could be a similarity. And let's think about a difference. So they have land in this story, right? It's who will win? So land. And was there a difference for If Sharks Disappear? No, right? Because it's the only setting that in If Sharks Disappear is ocean, right? Good job. Okay, now let's continue with our graphic organizer. Let's think about our story, who would win, and what was the problem in that story? Oh, the squid and the whale were fighting, right? So let's write that down. Now, what was the problem in the story If Sharks Disappeared? The ocean was in danger because the sharks died, right? Sharks. All right, let's think about a thing that they have in common, right? So could we say that in both stories there might be an animal that goes extinct or passes away? So in this story we have the squid that is in danger, and in this story we have the shark that is in danger, right? Of passing away. Alright, now last but not least, let's think about some solutions that we saw in our stories. So let's think about the who will win. So we were talking about the animal life cycle. Good job. And let's think about a difference for if sharks will disappear. Okay, we learned that we need to take care of our oceans. Okay, and lastly, what is a thing that they both have in common? Okay, so both stories had a hypothetical, right? About what would happen in the ocean, right? So they talked about what would happen in the ocean. Okay, good job coming up with all of these answers. Now I want you to work on writing these down in your graphic organizer of your own, and I want you to use my anchor chart to help you as you write these answers. Once the student has written all of their answers in their graphic organizer, I will encourage them to share with their table partners. This way that they can share what they have written and what I have also scribed. And once they have done that, that will be the end of my lesson. I hope you enjoyed watching me do a little overview of what I would do with my EL student. Thank you.